Just say it's a pleasure to be here this evening and share a little bit about how Jesus has impacted my life and what He's meant to me. And I asked Bill when I got up here, I said, is there a clock back behind there so I can see how long I've got in? He said, yes, right there. Well, it says I talk too long and talk too much on Sunday, so we drive separate cars, but tonight I promise you, I'm going to keep on talking all the time. So, but I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and try not to go long. And when Bill asked me to do this, I'm thinking I'm 68 years old, and it really made me think about 68 years of my lifetime and how God has impacted me. But first of all, I love the Lord. I love Jesus Christ. He's the anchor of my life. I love our family. And I love our church family. It's just special to me. I know I'm a sinner, and I know that Jesus Christ is my Savior. Yes. And I'm going to be in heaven with the Lord. That's such a great promise.
It is.
You know, there are many things that have happened in my life that I couldn't see God's hand in it until maybe 5 or 10 years later. And I look back and I say, God was at work the whole time. No matter what the difficulty was, no matter what the victory was, God had His hand in things. And the Bible is just full of so many wonderful verses and promises. And one that comes to mind that I've been able to use a number of times for myself in situations, but also in talking to others, whether they've had a situation where they're having needed encouragement, it's a difficult time. It's Jeremiah 29:11, where God says, I know the plans I have for you, and they are good ones. Plans to give you a good future and not to harm you. So you need to think about the God of the universe that created this universe, knows every hair on my head.
That's right.
He knows every thought I have. And He knows the plans for my life. It's just amazing. And then Romans 8:28 is also encouraging too. That all things work for the good, those who love the Lord. And the Bible just becomes alive when you realize these promises and verses. But I've been a member of a Baptist church, and there's only been 4 Baptist churches in my life. I've been a member of the Southern Baptist Church all of my life. I grew up on a farm right outside of Roanoke, Virginia. My father worked at the post office. He was postmaster. My mom didn't work. There were 4 children. I'm the oldest. And then I have 3 brothers. And 4-H was a big part of my life since I grew up on a farm. Also, Girl Scouts was a big part of my life. And at that time, and I think it still is, God was a big part of those organizations in both ways, especially 4-H. I had cattle and rabbits and all kinds of things. So it's fun to remember those. But you can see God's hand on all the animals and everything we were involved. My mom's parents were very instrumental in teaching me about Jesus. My grandmother taught me a verse, Malachi 3:10, about the value of tithing in life. And my grandmother always, even as us grandchildren were way into our adulthood, whenever there was a Billy Graham crusade on TV, she called all of her grandchildren and her children and said, Billy Graham's on tonight at 7 o'clock. Please watch, because I'm going to call you tomorrow to find out how you liked it. So, she really, she was very special.
Praise the Lord.
My dad was involved in Sunday school and made sure that we were in Sunday school each and every Sunday. He was the treasurer of our church and very active in Sunday school. My mother, for some reason, did not attend church with us. We asked her on a regular basis, on very rare occasions she would attend, and she never talked about why she wouldn't. So I still, but later in her years, when she was 40 and 50 years old, she did. She changed and she was going to church on a regular basis. I vividly remember some of my childhood memories as a 5, 6, 7-year-old, my Aunt May taught Sunday school, and we had about 15 or 20 kids in this class. And she was just had a passion for children. She sang songs, and she talked about Jesus, and she reminded me very much, in thinking back, of Mabel Rome. If any of you remember Mabel Rome, she was just that type of lady. Wonderful, wonderful memories. I realized as I approached my teen years that I was a sinner, and I needed a Savior in my life. I needed Jesus Christ. My grandmother again came in, so I'm just realizing, being a grandmother myself, how insignificant and how important we are in our grandchildren's life. And my grandmother, back in the spring of 1966, that's a long time ago, gave me this book. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it or not, but it's what the Bible is all about. It's from Billy Graham, and so I read that, and she in read that also gave me a leather-bound King James Version of the Bible, which was my very first Bible, and I cherish those. And I really began to develop such a thirst for Jesus' words. Yeah. What God was telling me. Just, it was an exciting time for me. So in 1966, at the age of 13, I gave myself to Christ. To the disappointment of my grandparents, I didn't go on to college. I graduated in 1971 from high school. I got married the next week, and the following week, I left for Morehead City. My first husband was already here, stationed at the Coast Guard at Fort Macon. And several months before we had come to the area, I came to apply for jobs. And I went to many places, and I couldn't find any business that would give me an opportunity. First of all, I was a military wife, subject to transfer. Nobody really wanted to invest the time in training because I was going to be transferred. I really didn't have an extensive job resume of past experiences, although I worked at various places part-time during high school. So I didn't have a job when I came here. The first week I was here, I went to First Baptist Church. I didn't know a soul in Morehead City. I was back on Bridges Street, and I went by myself, and it's amazing what Satan can do in your mind. And on the way down, I remember it vividly, driving down Bridges Street. Satan said to me, "Debbie, you shouldn't be going to that church because that's a pretty big church, and you're just a little country girl, and nobody's going to like you. And you need to go back home." Well, I went on, and I got in the Sunday school class. It was a wonderful time. There were about 30, 35 young people in the class, and I went in and sat beside, of all the people I could have sat beside, I sat beside a lady by the name of Lois Winehole. And I was thinking about Lois today, and Margaret will remember her. She was one of the original people at Open Door Baptist Church, and a pianist for a while too, named Margaret. But Lois was leaving Wachovia Insurance Agency to go to work as the full-time secretary at the church. And she asked me, she said, "Debbie, would you like to come in and apply for my job?" And I said, "Yes." So I came in on Monday and I took some tests, and they almost didn't hire me because I was military wife again. And God was back to me and said, "Debbie, just say what's on your heart." So I told him, I said, "I know you don't know me, but if you would just give me this opportunity and this job, I'll be one of the best employees you've ever had." And so I started to work that Tuesday. I forgot to ask what I was making, but I started to work. So I'm so thankful to that and to the good Lord for giving me an opportunity. And I couldn't even spell the word insurance. And like Bill Jenkins, he got thrown into the lab and didn't know chemistry, but I didn't know how to spell insurance. So, but in 2011, I retired after 40 years of work. And I worked for the same people, which we've had some changes in ownership of the same people over these 40 years, which is pretty unusual. And God has blessed me just on the business side a little bit in so many ways because I worked with Christian people along the way. I had some wonderful opportunities to talk to people who weren't saved. But I worked with Skinner Chalk and Joe B. and Jim Cooper. And then when BB&T bought us in '99, it was a very large corporation. I was a little nervous, as was the other employees in our office. We had 60 employees, and you just don't know how that's going to work when you have new ownership and things. And one of the executives came from Winston-Salem and said, and talked to us, and he said, I just want to tell everybody that there are 3 important things in your life. And if you'll remember these, you'll be successful personally and we'll be successful on the business side. The first and most important thing is God in your life. Then your family, and then your job. And if you'll keep those in your mind, we'll all be successful. And I thought, man, I was tickled to hear those words. That was a great relief. So, interesting enough, I ended up retiring. I started at First Baptist Church, but I retired. We had our retiring Christmas party at First Baptist Church Fellowship Hall. I did have an opportunity at that time to talk to the people that were present. And one of the things that I did talk about, I talked about the importance of Jesus Christ. And I thanked so many employees who were faithful Christians and had been so kind to me over the years. And I gave everybody the book Heaven is for Real. It's a true story at that time on the bestseller list. And I gave them all a card with a stone in it, personally, and a stone. And I said, this stone represents the same stone that David used to kill Goliath, the giant. Without faith in God, this stone is nothing more than a stone. But when you combine it with faith that it has, it is powerful in your life. And all of us have dealt with Goliaths in our life, whether they're financial or employment or health issues, family issues. God can destroy the giants in your life if you have the faith. I carry these stones a lot with me in my car. I carry some in my purse. So when I die, people are going to say, anyway. I also just wanted to remind you that I think little decisions can have huge impacts in your life. Had I decided not to go to First Baptist Church that week, I would have found the opportunity that I had to do. And I was just fortunate and very blessed.
Yes.
Like I said, I had a high school education, but I had opportunities given to me that God opened the door. I went to schools, I went to UNC Chapel Hill, studied the subject of insurance, and the last part of my business, I was able to go to Lloyd's of London and spend a week there on business, and it was just an incredible experience. I have a daughter, Jennifer, who lives in Raleigh, right outside of Raleigh, Creedmoor. Her and her husband have 2 little children. Today is little Claire's birthday. She's 6. And we sang happy birthday to her. I sang happy birthday to her and sent her a video. Well, I laughed because I did a silly skit. He said, I can't do that. But they're very precious and they're great blessings in our life. Mm-hmm. Jesus told us that life would not be easy. There would be difficulties. Just because we're a Christian doesn't mean that things are easy. And I've had a lot of difficult times in my life as well. But in thinking about this, I just have grown closer to Jesus in my difficult times. And because I saw him for answers. Why were things happening? My brother closest to me, in age, we were a year and a half apart. Wayne drowned at age 21 while he was fishing on the James River. His life was just beginning. He was a great young man. My marriage for 25 years dissolved unexpectedly. My father died at an early age, at 55. I really was seeking a closer walk with the Lord. And class in church called Mastermind. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but I loved it. Joanne Henderson taught it. It was just life-changing for me. And we had to do a lot of memorization of verses. But at the end, in order to complete the course, this was something I had never done before. We had to pray for 3 hours. We were by ourselves for 3 hours. And I said, Joanne, I cannot pray for 3 hours. There was no way. But once you got quiet with the Lord and shut out the world, it became very easy to talk about so much going on. So, I was a Sunday school teacher for 25 years with children, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Well, I've enjoyed Bible school over the years, and God also has blessed me by allowing my path to cross with Wyatt. We've been married for 15 years now, and he's just been a true blessing to me. Wyatt has a son and daughter, and 5 grandchildren in Charlotte. Our children are about the same age. They get along well, and that's a blessing. They're all precious young adults and grandchildren, and I can say that most of them have a walk with the Lord in a relationship. It's very exciting. So I went on a couple of mission trips, and I'm watching my time bill so I don't go over.
Oh, they're used to me. It's okay.
But I went on my first mission trip in 2004 to the Dominican Republic. We were 75 miles from Haiti. We worked with a program called Kids Alive, where they're orphans, and Kids Alive takes these children and puts them in homes. They teach them about Jesus Christ. They teach them a trade, and they love them. And then they can go out when they're old enough to be productive citizens. They can be great ambassadors to Jesus Christ. The missionary who was there was a young backer from Chicago, and he said many times I've been asked, why do people go on an international mission trip? There's plenty of things to do in this country. And he says when you do go outside our country, you realize the extreme poverty that some people live in. People in our country may be poor, but it really opens your eyes and opened my eyes to poverty that people experience that we never see in our country. That you can come back to your country and your community and help in ways. Your eyes will be open to what you're going to see. So there was one afternoon, Donna Guerra and I were coming back from the children's home, and we had played with the children, and I don't know any foreign languages, White knows 6 or 7, but he tried to give me some Spanish when I went, and I couldn't quite grasp it. But anyway, I waved to the children one afternoon, and I said, Buenos Aires, and I turned to Donna Guerra, and I said, Donna, did I say good afternoon or good morning? And she looked at me and said, neither. That's the capital of Argentina. 2 years later, we went on another mission trip, the same area. Wyatt had an opportunity to go, and my daughter Jennifer went. It was such a blessing to have them there. It just is amazing how God changes you and makes you grow on a trip like that. We had an interpreter. We went up to a house one night on the side of the mountain. There was a couple that had been married 50 years, and she had leather feet and had no shoes. Her husband too, and she couldn't speak any English. And she set out kindergarten chairs for us, and we all sat around and looked at the beautiful hillside. And she said, "We're all God's children, and anything I have is yours. And I want you to see our house." So she took us over to this little mud hut made with sticks. And then she had a bed made with plastic grocery bags, very neat and tidy. And she was so excited over the stove she had just gotten. My mission group prior had brought her a little old cooking stove, and she could cook inside. And so you've probably never seen a TV or anything that we would see. And when we got ready to leave, and she gave us a gift. She gave us 2 eggs and a green pepper. And it brought us all to tears. Because I thought, here's this lady and her husband who had virtually nothing. And she had the greatest spirit of any person I've ever seen. So her love of the Lord touched my life like I had never seen before. You know, I've got for those of you that know me, I love to play tennis. And I used to do a lot of running. And when I was about 45, I was running one day in Brandywine, it's 3 miles around. It was Easter time. And I had on my mind the Jesus being crucified and his resurrection. And I was running, and it was like God spoke to me and said, Debbie, okay, would you give either one of your children up to save the world? And I stopped there and just cried because the answer to that was no. So I just realized the love that God has for us, sacrificed his son to save us, what it means to us. So I just, I'm in the retirement season of life. You know, we have all these seasons, and my goal is to really try to plant seeds in the hearts of my grandchildren and children. We have some children that just don't walk as closely to the Lord, and I haven't always walked closely to the Lord in my life. And I do think that there's so many words of wisdom from the Bible, and Brenda and I were talking the other day. I gave an example of our son and I years ago. We were talking about John 15:5. The vine, you're the branch. He that abides in me and I in him will bear much fruit. Without me, you can do nothing. You take it off and cut that branch off, we just die. We just really die. So we want to stay connected to the Lord. Grandchildren have been a blessing. I try to work with my grandchildren to teach them simple, especially when they're younger, the simple version of Bible verses. James 1:19, be quick to listen and slow to talk and slow to get angry. I think it's a good verse for us all to read this. In Ephesians 4:32, be kind to one another. Our world just needs more kindness all around, everywhere we go. So, as I get closer to the age of being with Jesus and being able to see Jesus, I just realized that Jesus is everything. Talking to Jesus through his Bible, talking to Jesus through prayer is such an important part in my life. Our goal as Christians each and every day should be to climb the ladder and be more like Jesus in every word we say, every thought we have, and every deed we do. And I learned that years ago, and I asked our pastor, I said, do you mean I have to think everything nice? He said, Debbie, that's what I said. Everything you think is to be like Jesus. So I'm thankful for God. I'm thankful for my family, and I'm thankful for you all. Just especially thankful for God in the good times and the bad, his gifts of salvation, grace, and mercy. And I just want you to know I love each one of you, and thank you for the opportunity to share some things about my life. Thank you.